Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to talk with you about the harmonized self. My old spiritual teacher used to say that the purpose of our incarnation is to unify and harmonize the higher self and the lower self, to do our work, to do our healing and our spiritual work so that the higher self, or the soul if you like, our spiritual aspect, is joined, unified, harmonized with our lower human self, so that we're still living our human life as a body, brain, personality, but the qualities, the strength, the love, the wisdom of our greater self is coming through. It's being expressed through the lower self or the human self. So what a grand purpose that is, and what a grand task that is we have to do that work. So if you see it in that sense, to be the harmonized self, well, our mission, our project, our purpose is twofold. If you think of it, the human as the root system, it's about cleaning that up. It's about healing the obstacles, the wounding, the issues, the trauma, the negative beliefs, the doubts, the fear, guilt, rage, and ultimately healing out the ego, which is that lower split mind that wants to keep us separate, keep us down really, and is so clever at finding ways to keep us down and limited. It's healing that out, and at the same time, simultaneously doing our spiritual work, our spiritual practice, our spiritual reflection, inquiry, worship, devotional practice, these things that are helping us to connect more and more to the greater self, so that we're bringing that more and more into the frame. If you think of that as the branches, and you think of this as the root system, it's creating a healthy tree and a big tree. You know, it's a mighty mountain ash up in the forest. It's a huge kauri tree up in the rainforest. So, yeah, I've always been interested, passionate really about these two aspects, you know, from a young age really, always curious about the spiritual. Who am I really? What happens when we die? Is it a meaningful universe? How do we connect to that? And at the same time needing, from my own trauma history, to be doing healing work, working on the cleaning up the mess, and still obviously a work in progress in both ways, but just feeling that, connecting it, and in unifying it. You know, at the moment I find myself being James Hands in this body-brain personality in this world, having to live in Queensland and work with lots of wonderful clients, and you know, and married with two adult children. You know, I find myself in this story, this picture, this situation, but the goal has always been to be a fuller and fuller expression of who I really am, and definitely enjoying the peace and the joy and the stillness that comes from that work. So, yeah, here's a question for you, my friend. How are you going on both those fronts? How are you going in terms of dealing with anything unresolved sitting down in your root system? And at the same time, how are you going with your spiritual inquiry? How are you going with that? Whether you're just reading kind of spiritual things, or doing meditation, or spiritual practice, or maybe you've had a near-death experience, or you're exploring that. So many different ways that the spiritual practice can look. What's your devotional practice? By doing this, we get the growth on the vertical axis. And so, you know, the trunk of self is a good metaphor for our expression in the life. And unfortunately, we can get too caught up in the outer life, in the doing, in the busyness, in all the demands and responsibilities of our existence. Just earning a living, just feeding the body, maintaining a home, raising children, keeping down a job, looking after even just our own health and hygiene. I mean, it's very demanding, But if we're just stuck in the horizontal axis, if we're just stuck as the trunk, if you like, in our outer life, then what we find is we're just churning in a repetitive sort of holding pattern. But when we get on the vertical axis as well, we find growth. We do shadow work, there's a bit more space, we're creating a bit more depth. We do spiritual work, we're accessing a bit more light, we're bringing in a bit more of our soul energy, if you like. And so the idea is to do both. And this is what Mario was talking about, my old spiritual teacher was talking about, as this harmonized self, this unified and harmonized self. It's balanced on both horizontal and vertical axes, and that creates the real wholeness and fullness in the life. So maybe we could play with this. Why don't we do some eyes closed process around this? I'd invite you to get comfortable and drop in. Close your eyes if you wish. You don't have to. You can gaze off in the middle distance if you wish, but just taking a moment to drop in. And just starting with the breath. As you deepen the breath, take a nice long deep breath in and letting go. Letting go any holding. And another deep, long, easy breath, taking your awareness within, letting go the busyness of your day. And another deep, easy, long breath in, letting your awareness turn inward, each breath going deeper, each heartbeat going deeper still. And imagine you could see yourself as a tree. Just allow a picture, an image, a sense of a tree to come forward. Just be curious about this tree that your inner wisdom is showing you. Just notice it. What's it look like? What type of tree is it? How small is it? How big is it? What's the root system look like? If you could see under the surface of the earth, if you could see down into the roots, what do you notice there? Just being wide open and curious. Just letting your awareness trace through the root system. Are there any obvious blocks there, issues there, problem areas? Are there areas where maybe it's not as deep, it's maybe hitting up against a rock or stuck in some way? Maybe other areas where the roots look a bit unhealthy, maybe a bit withered or dry or unhealthy in some way. Or maybe it's rich and healthy and extends deep, deep, deep into the earth in all directions. Just noticing, no judgment, no right and wrong. Just being curious about what's here in your root system. And of course that's giving you some feedback, some information about maybe how you're going in your subconscious work, your shadow work. You might be getting some guidance here from your own inner wisdom about problem areas that need some more loving attention. Just making a note of that, something to take to your shadow work, to your hypnotherapy work, to your psychotherapy work. And when you're ready, bringing your awareness now up the tree, just extending conscious awareness up through the branches, up to the branches, the stems, right through to the leaves, as high as they go, as broad as they go. just being wide open and curious here. How's your superconscious connection going? Is it expansive and soaring up into the heavens? Or is it maybe limited? Are there areas where the branches seem a bit stuck or stunted? Are there areas where there seems to be restriction or limitation? Once again, no judgment, no right and wrong, just being curious about what your psyche is showing you here as a symbol of your spiritual life, your connection to higher mind, higher self, higher reality, higher truth, your soul, your spiritual self. Just make a note here of what that symbol is telling you, guiding you around. It might be soaring and free and healthy and absolutely connecting to spirit in abundance. It might be stuck or limited or stunted in some way, suggesting this needs some more cultivation, some more time and attention. But whatever you notice here in terms of your superconscious is perfect as well. And thirdly, you bring your awareness to the trunk, to the you, the harmonized you, the joining of the human and the spiritual selves in that expression of you right now as the you who's listening to this guided process, the you living your life as the person you are, operating in your life, in the world, in whatever ways you do. And just notice that expression. How's your life looking? How are you moving in the horizontal axis, the external life? Is it harmonious? Is there flow? Is it full of joy and laughter and abundance? Or are there areas where there's stuckness, limitation, challenges? Well, yeah, me too. Everyone has their challenges, and of course that reflects what's going on the inside, as within, so without. External reflects the internal. So just noticing here any feedback about areas where inner blocks, inner wounding, inner limitations are perhaps being reflected in your outer life, your outer existence. And once again, no judgment, we're all works in progress. This is all about growth. I mean, it's what it's all here for, is us to grow, to heal, to remember who we are, and to ultimately become a completely unified, harmonized self between higher and lower. So taking one last look at the tree of you, the tree of self, the whole tree, as a symbol of self. And just opening your heart here, sending love, sending kindness, sending gratitude to that tree of you, that expression of you, because whoever you are, wherever you're at in your journey, is perfect for you right now. We're always exactly where we're meant to be. Whatever we're dealing with is always exactly what we're meant to be dealing with. It's not about karma, it's not about deserving, it's certainly not about punishment, it's about, okay, this is where my growth edge is, this is where my learning edge, my leading edge of my development, my healing, my evolution is. And so, feeling that love, gratitude, acceptance of self and your life and your tree, exactly as it is. And gently now, deepening the breath. Gently now, bringing the awareness back into waking consciousness. Gently now, coming back up into the surface of beta brainwave, just deepening the breath. Gently coming back into full waking consciousness, soft eyes opening when you're ready, fully awake, fully alert. So what's your tree look like? If you were to draw it, or paint it, or put it on paper somehow, which might be a wonderful idea to do if you have the time and space. What was your tree like? I'd love to see a picture of the tree of you where you're at. How'd you find that process? Were there any obvious areas for more work, needing more love and attention? And how was that, just to see it in the wholeness of that, the whole picture of you as that joining of human and divine, of soul and body, brain, personality. I hope you found that useful, helpful, and putting it in the whole picture of you. I did write a little book called Maps for the Journey, which is quite comprehensive. It's looking at all the aspects of our life, our being, in an attempt to map it all. Maps for the Journey, a way of mapping who we are. I've always loved these maps to try to understand myself, life, make sense of everything. Where does that fit? Where does that fit? And we need holistic models to be comprehensive enough to make sense of this. And the tree is a very good comprehensive symbol for who we are as people. As well, what did Wayne Dyer say? We're not human beings having spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, which kind of sums it up. So have a look for that book. It's not expensive. You can get it as an ebook, or I do have soft cover physical copies still. If you would like me to post one out to you, feel free to look online. So yes, so here's to some good horticulture and tree cultivation, some good arborist work, and delighted to help you in any way I can.